All right, guys, we're ready for our four-season sunroom, and Daddy's gonna get a rec room with refreshments.
Oh no, we'll be sleeping under the stars.
Mom, what about the one with, the fun?
Nice try, little bro. It's a gym. My gym.
Hey, Grandma's getting her Four Seasons garden room. Weather tight and still like being outdoors.
Maybe a living room. Oh no, wait, a family hub.
Yeah!
No matter what the budget, the season, or the climate, Four Seasons Sunrooms let you and your family enjoy the outdoors inside. Call now to receive your free, no-obligation brochure from the premier manufacturer of sunrooms since 1975.
More reasons for Four Seasons now.
To find out more, call toll-free 800-928-7007. That's 800-928-7007. Call 800-928-7007 today.
Wake up, America. I think I got something to say to you. I say this every week. I love the United States of America, and I want you to love the United States of America too. Office Hours with Dr. A is not a safe space, so enter at your own risk. You will be exposed to the truth, and I will endure the consequences. Again, rest assured, I will not try to put my brain into your head. I will, however, motivate you to think and to use the analytical part of your brain that very few people want to use because it requires actual effort, it requires actual work.
You've reached the office of Dr. Randy Arrington. Please have a seat, and the doctor will be with you in just a moment.
Hey, good afternoon, good Sunday to you, and this is Dr. A. We're here with Office Hours of Dr. A, which is, by the way, folks, not a safe space, so you better enter at your own risk. You'll be exposed to the truth. And then Lou and I will have to watch out for those inevitable consequences. And speaking of Lou Esposito was on the line. She, of course, is my producer, my sidekick, and I've given her the honorary Naval Aviation Tactical call sign of Wench because she doesn't take crap from anybody. Is that true, Lou?
Oh, pretty much, yeah. I was giving some trolls a hard time on Twitter this morning.
You know, I'm very excited today because I listened to the entire show with JD and Stacy. What do they call that show? Bloody Marys and Broad Sheets. Did I get that right? I got it right. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I got it right. I love them. I really do. And I tune in when I can, when I have the opportunity to do that, so that I can laugh with them and learn from them. Never stop learning, never stop laughing. Today, especially, has really torqued me up. You, Lou Wench, have the ability to bring out tremendous emotion in me and really make me my brain start thinking and give that analytical conclusion, whatever topic we're talking about, to the audience, the three people that are listening to us and the four in the romper room. But today I got really pumped up, torqued up, motivated by JD and the Cornell chick, Miss Stacy, because of what they were saying, the topics, the news that's going on. And in fact, I was putting some stuff in the romper room. I try to, be cordial, but I try to put on stuff that's really important and very analytical, very up to date as far as the intellect is concerned. And they came back from one of the breaks, those obscene commercial breaks, and they told me to shut up. And they said it teasingly, I know, but you realize that the Cornell chick up there in the North Georgia room up there where she does her broadcasting, she just can't stand Donald Trump. And I'm not for or against any of these guys yet. I'm still waiting for the vetting process to play itself out. But I wanted to talk here because somebody said, I wrote something in the chat room, said that first of all, Jeb Bush, as you know, suspended his presidential campaign after his really dismal showing in the South Carolina primary yesterday, February 20th, 2016. And so I wrote in the romper room during JD and Stacey's show, the GOP establishment is no longer in charge of the Republican Party. By that I mean the leadership the organization and those elected members of Congress, they're no longer in charge of the Republican Party. At least for the time being, Lou, the grassroots Republicans are in charge of the direction of the Republican Party. And the invisible primary, which I wrote an article about several months ago, the invisible primary has been stopped temporarily in this election cycle because the EGOP, in my opinion, and in the opinion of several grassroots members, the EGOP has betrayed us in the grassroots for the last time, at least right now. And, you know, I mentioned last week that the Beltway Bandits, who are pretty much drunk on their own entrenched power, the majority of those need to be sent back into private life. The nation needs a political enema, a full body cleanse. And JD was talking about that during one of his mantras there. And I commented on that, saying it was a great analysis. And I think that's what's happening right now. So the question is, who is Donald Trump? I think the better question may be, what is Donald Trump? The answer, in my humble opinion, is a giant middle finger from average Americans to the political establishment, EGOP, and the media establishment. And mainstream media and the non-mainstream media establishment. Most Trump supporters have simply had it with the Democratic Socialists, the Communists, and the Rhinos, the Republicans in name only. Most of them know that, as the Beltway Bandits, that Dr. Ray refers to them as, they know that there isn't a dime's worth of difference between, say, Mrs. Clinton and Jeb. Are you trying to handle me?
No, I was just getting ready to tell you what I think Donald Trump is.
I want to hear that. But you breathe, you sighed into the microphone, and to me that's a sign that she's trying to turn it. Usually you laugh, but when you sigh, it's like, oh man.
I'm sorry, it's frustration.
Okay, I'm just giving you an opinion here. I'm not saying that it's right.
I know.
It's for the audience, the 3 and the 4, to chew on for a while and see what they think. It's also sort of to kind of torque up Miss Stacy a little bit, but the people out there in the grassroots know there isn't a dime's worth of difference between Mrs. Clinton and Jeb Bush, and only a few cents worth difference between her and the other GOP candidates. Go ahead, talk. What do you think? The mic is yours.
My thought is that Trump is the proletariat and his followers are just more useful idiots.
Okay, all right. I think that's a great analogy, but I want to continue with what I'm teaching here, okay?
Please do, sorry.
I think Harry's on my side normally. I like that. Ben Carson is not an establishment candidate, but he's. Some people in the romper room are talking about he's kind of an arrogant surgeon. And they say they must have seen some expose on him. And I commented sort of in his defense, hey, look, Dr. A is kind of arrogant and vain too. That's why I surround myself, on occasion, arrogant and vain. And that's why I surround myself with people that will help me keep one foot firmly planted in humility. That's people like you and JD and Stacy, but other people in my life. I make sure that...
But especially me and Stacy.
Yeah, you don't get too big of a head. But Ben Carson is not an establishment candidate, but... if he were to win the nomination, the Clinton machine would pulverize Dr. Carson. And then you have the somewhat rebellious Ted Cruz. I like Mr. Cruz, I really do. I think that if he gets the nomination, it's going to be closer and closer to the maybe a broker convention. Who knows? He'll be tied up with lawsuits, natural-born citizen lawsuits, as well as Marco Rubio might be tied up with that. My inside sources tell me Marco Rubio is nothing but a slick little punk in a 3-piece suit. And I told you that. Don't trust him.
Right.
The Trump supporters figure, this is my analysis, the Trump supporters figure they may as well have fun tossing Molotov cocktails at Wall Street, Georgetown, the Beltway Bandits, while they watch the nation, if it is going to happen, collapse. Besides, lightning might strike. Trump might get the nomination. Trump might get elected. Some people are saying that he's got a clear path now to the nomination. I'm not ready to say that. And some people also say he might actually fix a few things. Stranger things have happened, Lou. The nation elected a communist, Islamo-communist, have a drink. in 2008, 2012, and Bruce Jenner now refers to himself as a woman and he wears designer dresses. Millions of conservatives are justifiably furious, wench. We gave the Republicans control of the House in 2010 and control of the Senate in 2014. And we've seen them govern no differently than that knucklehead Harry Reid or that vitriol, that vile Mrs. Nancy Pelosi. I can't stand her. I can't look at her. Yet, those same voters, Lou, are supposed to trust the EGOP today? Why? Trump did not come out of nowhere. His candidacy was created by the last 6 or 7 years of Republican rhino failures and us being betrayed. No reasonable person can believe that any of the establishment candidates will slash federal spending, rein in the Federal Reserve, cut burdensome business regulations, get rid of or reform the tax code, eliminate useless federal departments, which I think about half of them could be gotten rid of, as somebody that used to work in the bureaucracy. Even Ronald Reagan, who you love, was unable to eliminate the Department of Education. Of course, getting shot at that tends to make a person less of a risk taker, I guess. No reasonable person can believe that any of the nation's problems will be solved by Mrs. Clinton or Jeb Bush, who of course he's now gone, or any of those other knuckleheads eating corn in Iowa, having stacks of pancakes in New Hampshire, or now leaving South Carolina for the next stop on the campaign trail, which I think we're going to go to Nevada, and then here in my home state that I live in right now in Georgia. Most Americans, Lou, well, many Americans, let's put it that way, and especially the Trump supporters, have had it with anyone named Bush, anyone named Clinton, anyone who's held political office. Political correctness, which you know, as you know, we're going to do a two-part show on cultural Marxism. Political correctness is nothing but the primary weapon in the arsenal of political of the cultural Marxists. We've had it with that. Most of us, not everybody. We've had it with illegal immigration, massive unemployment, phony official unemployment and inflation figures, welfare waste and fraud, people faking disabilities to go on the dole, which you and I pay for. Veterans Administration, VA waiting list while these wonderful men and women die while waiting on this list. Getting groped at the TSA, by the TSA at the airport. We're tired of Obamacare. The Federal Reserve's money printing schemes, whatever they call those. Wall Street crooks like John Corzine. Michelle Obama's vacation. Her vacations. Her phony food policy. Barack Obama's golf habit. His arrogant and condescending lectures to us as a lecturer from whatever University, Columbia, I guess he was at. Barack Obama's criticism, Barack Obama's hatred of America, everything that's principled and traditional of America. I'm tired of Valor Jarrett and holiday trees. I'm tired of Hollywood hypocrites. That strikes home close to me because of my connections with Hollywood. I'm getting tired of global warming nonsense, the cop killers, Black Lives Matter. All lives matter, Lou. All lives matter. Black lives matter. Your life matters. People of color matter. Yes, they do. But so do other lives. Every life matters. That's the way God intended it. I'm tired of being threatened with gun confiscation. And that comes home right now because of the death of Antonin Scalia, that wonderful jurist that was on the Supreme Court for almost 30 years, I believe. He was the Ronald Reagan appointee. What a wonderful man. I honor him.
Yeah, maybe the best Supreme Court justice ever.
One of the absolute best. And that knucklehead, Obama, didn't even have the guts and the decency to go to his funeral. What a embarrassment this guy is to everything that is traditional America. I'm tired of stagnant wages. I'm tired of Chevy Volts, clock boy, pajama boy, mattress girl, boys legally going into the girls' bathrooms. I'm tired of whining, spoiled college students who can't even place the Civil War in the correct century or who fought in that war. And you know what, Lou? That's just the short list. Trump support. Go ahead. You're Mike.
No, I could not agree with you more. That is the short list, and I'm pretty tired of it too.
I think Trump supporters believe that no Democrat wants to address these issues, and that very few Republicans have the courage, which is what we're talking about today, to address these issues. They don't have the courage to stand up and actually do what's required. They're chickens. They certainly know that none of the establishment candidates are better than barely listening to them and what they have to say. And Trump is sort of, I think, their way of saying "screw you" to Mrs. Clinton, to Karl Rove, to the Bushes, any of these people, Reid, Pelosi, whatever. McConnell, which is pretty close to where you live up there in North Carolina. Sorry, I get that confused. You're supposed to laugh.
Yeah, I know. I laughed at that joke like the first 5 times you told it.
Oh, shut up. This is only the 6th time I said it. the more the talking head political pundits insult the Trump supporters and Donald, it's ironic, the more supporters he seems to gain. I think the only pundits who seem to understand what is going on are Pat Caddell, Doug Schoen, who I think are Democrats, and then a guy named Lug Boutelier, who's a Republican. All the others argue that the voters eventually will come to their senses and support an establishment candidate. I'm not so sure. But America does not need a tune-up of the same old garage band. It needs a new engine installed by experts, and neither Mrs. Clinton nor Bush are the mechanics with the skills and the experience to install this new engine. Hillary Rodham Clinton is not a mechanic. She barely manages a garage of her own philandering husband. What's his name? Bill Clinton. Jeb Bush, who's just resigned, he suspended his campaign. He's not a mechanic either. He merely inherited this garage. Now, granted, Trump is also not a mechanic, a political mechanic, if you will, in this analogy. But I think at least a lot of supporters seem to think he knows where to find the best mechanics to work in this garage. What do you think about that, Lou? Will he hire the best people if he gets elected?
Trump?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't think that we can count on that. I think that if you look at who is around him now and who he's hired so far, and other than a couple of pretty savvy campaign people to make his campaign a real campaign, I think he'll surround himself with yes men, because I think that's who he is. I believe that he is as big a narcissist as Obama.
Almost all great men in history are bad men. Does that make any sense to you? They're narcissistic. Nothing's true universally. I mean, Jesus Christ was not a bad man. He was good. Of course, he told people when they called him good, say, "Hey, only God is good." Of course, in the whole scheme of things, the Godhead three, he is part of God.
I'm going to switch parties on you and really throw you for a loop, but explain to me how Truman was narcissistic.
Nothing is universal, and I agree. It's a great comeback, and I don't think he was. Truman, I think he was a great president. When he left office, he had the lowest approval rating of any president in the history of that approval rating scheme. Did you know that?
I knew he was one of the lowest, yeah.
I wanted to start off by talking a little bit about that and see what people think about Trump and what's happening in the direction of the Republican Party, and that the GOP established was no longer in control. The grassroots are in control, and
And I think that's a good thing. I think that's a good thing, but I don't like necessarily where it's taking us, but I think that the fact that the party and the establishment is no longer in control, and the grassroots is taking control of the party is great. I think that a lot of Trump supporters, and the numbers bear this out to some extent, are first-time voters in their 30s and 40s that have never cared about voting, and now they're getting behind Trump, and they're very uneducated, and that's why I call them, well, I don't want to say uneducated, about politics and policy. They're not educated people. They don't really understand. And so
don't get Dr. A wrong, listeners out there, and Miss Stacy. I'm not supporting Trump. I'm still waiting for the vetting process to go through. Lou, you know who I sort of.
I know how you're leaning,
but
yes,
I'm not going to endorse anybody, but I'm just giving an analysis to people to chew on for a while. But
right.
We're going to finish up in today's live broadcast for the people here that are listening in all our different markets. Courage, Cowardice, and the Wordsmiths. And last week we talked about these wordsmith cowards who tried to avoid the war, and how they didn't quite understand that when they got out of their schoolroom environment that they no longer were the most valued and prized and praised people in the capitalist society. And I told you that one of my colleagues, Dr. Robert Nozick, said that there's a forerunner of the capitalist system in our society, and that was the playground. So in that freewheeling world of the schoolyard playground, the good little girls and the physically timid boys who craved their teacher's praise in the classroom environment were suddenly at a distinct disadvantage out there on the schoolyard. The schoolroom was, still is, their utopia, because that's where physical aggression is banned, and all of life's problems could be solved with a verbal solution. Girls growing up are usually more verbally adept in their early childhood years than the guys, and they gain surplus praise from the teachers. In addition, such children, including boys who crave their teachers' approval, receive moral approbation from being good, while aggression is bad. So the future wordsmith intellectuals grew up feeling smarter, morally superior. They became caring idealists, and these self-flattering views actually carry on into adulthood and shape the future wordsmiths' intellectual minds and their political views. I had the luxury of white privilege of serving as a naval aviator in this country, flying off aircraft carriers as an attack pilot for 20 years, retiring from that, and not being flattered. In fact, I was ridiculed by my fellow squadron mates over and over again, because that's how we bonded. I put my life in their hands, they put their lives in my hands, and we teased each other unmercifully just to let each other know how much we loved each other. I'm not talking about man love. I'm talking about love for each other as patriots and warriors, and that was a good thing. And so I keep one foot firmly planted in humility. Sometimes I can get a little vain and start edging towards moral superiority or intellectual superiority, and you guys make sure that I get beat back down where I need to be, and I appreciate that. I think it's time for a break, Lou. Is that true?
Yes, I think it's time for a break. Let's take one real quick, and we'll be right back.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network.
This is JD.
And this is Stacy.
Join us Tuesday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern for Game On. Remember,
lock up the children and the old folks.
Game On, the home of libertarian conservatism,
where no one is safe and no one is spared. not even the hosts.
Oh, that was supposed to be a spin cycle. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. We love you anyway. Right round, baby.
Self-monitoring
right
Ebola radio strikes again.
Anyway.
Anybody see the host monkey? Where's the host monkey? Where's the host monkey? For God's sake, I need an antidote. Just do your rant. Let's pop out of the segment.
Find us on Twitter at JD and Stacy.
You're listening to K98Talk.com.
I've seen this happen before. And there's a full moon out tonight. I'm a fool, but you can't fool me twice. I wear my secret deception just like a disguise. When I reveal myself in the light, stick around and you might pay the price. Enough with the questions, it's time that we said our goodbyes.
I knew that this wouldn't be easy.
Try not to tie it down.
No, nothing you say can appease me.
If you wanted to go, then you would have been gone before now. The darkness abounds.
Office Hours on WNJC is brought to you by the Conservative Commando Radio Network. And Captain Ron just paused so that he could go listen to that entire song by Tennessee Jet, available on iTunes, since he told me that every time we play that spot, he pauses the show to listen to that whole song.
You know, when I'm here, and I just noticed that Dr. Ray is taking a beating, a virtual beating in the romper room here. I'm trying not to be arrogant, but that's okay. Go back to this. We talked about these future coward wordsmiths, those intellectuals, if you will, that they grow up feeling smarter and morally superior, the caring idealists, because the teachers pat them on the butt and make them feel that way. And then these self-flattering views of themselves carry over into adulthood and shape the future coward wordsmith intellectuals' political views, because that doesn't seem to reap rewards in a capitalist society, Lou. In their minds, if words can resolve all these conflicts, then they, as wordsmiths, are exceedingly important in our society and should be justly rewarded. If conflicts within and between human beings can be resolved with mere words, then who better to play the role of savior than these wordsmith intellectuals? That's why I'm very I'm against the Department of State. I think that as a warrior myself, the Department of State is nothing but a bunch of wordsmith intellectuals who think that diplomacy and negotiation solve everything. I think it's crap. It serves its purpose, but I think a lot of times diplomacy and getting together with all these negotiating tables allows the other side to just restock their arms. Keep your powder dry. Trust but verify. Keep your powder dry and be ready to use that big stick. Words alone cannot solve all the problems of human beings' existence. One of the central features of utopian politics, a characteristic that sort of helps us explain this vast appeal of the intellectuals, Lou, is the promise, if you will, that all conflict can be abolished eventually, and human nature can be fundamentally altered through social engineering. That's a bunch of crap. That's communism. That's Islamism. That's Nazism. The aim is a unified, submissive, happy mankind led by an elite group of men and women who are in possession of the real, eternal truth of life, Lou.
Yes, Slickery Trigger says our mothers were wrong. Violence does, in fact, solve problems.
I knew I liked him. I'm missing his wife in the romper room. She's headed out of Texas. I think she's going to Oklahoma to visit her mother. I'm not sure if it's Oklahoma. I said that because I've got a friend who's a close friend of mine from church, and she's a Texan. Love her to death, and I'm an honorary Texan. She always teases me about that I'm really not, but I am an honorary Texan, and she just hates Oklahoma. Her big joke that she always tells me is that the University of Oklahoma's football team has decided to only dress 40 players for their next football game. The other 30 can get dressed on their own.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, that's like Georgia, Alabama, North and South Carolina.
I'm a UCLA USC guy, so I can't stand the University of Southern California.
Yeah.
I'm a Bruin from UCLA.
Yeah, those cross-state rivalries, they're a lot of fun.
Does anybody have the eternal truth of life? Is it the communists? Is it the Nazis? Is it the Islamists? No. Just like Miss Murphy taught in 6th grade, aggression will then vanish when egalitarian paradise prevails. Ain't gonna happen, Lou. But since the happy day never arrives, and I just told you it never will arrive, scapegoats are needed to explain the failure of utopia wherever and whenever it's been tried, the failure of communism, the failure of the Islamists. And we're going to talk about the failure of communism in a couple of weeks. I think after we come back from CPAC, which I think we're blessed to be able to have press passes for, we're going to go up there and I guess we're going to broadcast on Radio Row. I don't know. Is that true?
Yeah, it looks like we are going to be there, and we're going to be live from CPAC. It's going to be fun.
I'm going to get some interviews, hopefully. I'm going to interview Katie Pavlich and Mel Malkin. And
yeah, we're going to corner some people and get some interviews.
Wouldn't it be wonderful if I could interview Trump right there with Miss Stacy standing behind my shoulder?
Yeah, you might have to do that alone. Yeah, you can count on Stacy won't be anywhere near you.
Oh, come on! I'll talk her to being right there. I'll buy her something to eat, and she'll stand right there.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Count on it.
Usually, because that happy day of utopia never arrives, we got to come up with scapegoats. Why we haven't had the right people in charge, Lou? That's why it's failed. But usually, it's the Jews. We talked a little about that last week, or other infidels that are the scapegoats. So it is the wordsmith intellectuals that can actually rationalize. I just can't get my head wrapped around this. These wordsmith intellectuals can rationalize mass murder by Adolf Hitler, Stalin, Pol Pot, Ahmadinejad, and the rest of these communists and Islamists. But in doing so, the wordsmith is vicariously discharging their own repressed violent aggression, but still holding fast to their idealized self-image. They're cowards, Lou. Nozick, his explanation for Wordsmith intellectuals' opposition to capitalism is an important first-order explanation, but it doesn't go deeply enough into the psychological aspects and the psychology of the intellectuals. When capitalism embraces competition, and competition requires utilization of aggression, profound fear of aggression, and the concomitant dislike of action to solve problems constitutes the underlying reason why they hate capitalism.
They fear competition.
They do. I love competition. Competition makes you better. Mm-hmm. I'm in competition, maybe not so much intellectually with the Cornell chick. No, I agree. She's very intelligent, and she does motivate me to raise my game up. I always tease her and JD at the end of the show. I say, "Great job, JD," and he says, "Thank you, Dr. A." And then I say, "Miss Stacy, you need to pick it up a bit." And you please tell her I'm teasing.
She knows you're teasing.
You know that? I think she's great. And she always motivates me. I learn and laugh when I listen to them every single time. I want them to know that they are great. But the schoolroom is the model, going back to what we were talking about, for intellectual utopia. Utopia is, above all, a conflict-free zone where no one is aggrieved. Whatever social problems exist between human beings can be talked out, just like in the Department of State. I just told you that's a bunch of crap. They can't be talked out. Sometimes you got to close that fist. You got to drop that smart bomb. Sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes Your powder, which has been kept dry, has to be used. Sometimes that trust you've given somebody has to be verified. Intellectuals and their verbal skills can show the way to harmony and peace. No, they can't. Having avoided aggression at an early age, these wordsmiths never learned Patton's lessons in courage. You've learned that lesson, have you not?
I have.
I think every time I have lunch with you and Miss Stacy, I learn the value of Patton's lessons in courage. I got to stand up and defend myself, but that's okay. By the way, are we going to have lunch, you and I and Stacy and JD, when we get up there? Are we going to have lunch together and sit down and chit chat? I hope so.
I imagine.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm looking forward to that. So, having not learned the lessons in courage from Patton and other warriors, American warriors, cowardice is therefore the reaction that comes most readily in situations of danger by these wordsmiths. That psychoanalyst that we were talking about earlier in this said that he does belong to a wordsmith profession, of course, and he has a close-up view of its practitioners. He said that they are overwhelmingly left in their politics and tend to think words are the answers to all serious problems. Their faith in the power of words to resolve conflict is almost absolute. When psychoanalysis came to America, it shed its European pessimism about human nature in adapting to a new world optimism. Therapy changed its goals from Freud's limited aim of, what do you want to do? Converting misery into ordinary human unhappiness. I think that's Freud, what he wanted to do in his psychoanalysis. In summary, or summarily, it decided that mental conflict can be resolved and that blissful happiness can be achieved by all mankind. I don't think that's true, Lou. Go ahead.
Blissful happiness can be achieved by all mankind. What right do we have to blissful happiness?
I don't think God never promised us that we'd be happy.
No.
I'm happy every now and then. I go through ups and downs like all of us. It's a roller coaster ride through life.
Well, that's life, and I think that that's just a method of another method of brainwashing that cultural Marxists do.
That's exactly right, and we're going to talk about that. What do I call brainwashing?
Mind raping.
Mind rape. That happens to so many people. And we've got to, sometimes I think we have to protect these people.
Drink, by the way, that's another drinking word.
It is, but we have to protect them from themselves after they've been mind raped. And blissful happiness. This sort of became the task of individual psychotherapists, to resolve conflict and then to aim at this during their extended group conflicts that they had during these social group gatherings. I think the United States is drowning in a therapeutic culture and cultural Marxism, saturated by a fantasy version of human nature that stands in stark contradiction to the original psychoanalytic view. Unfortunately for the adherents of this therapeutic culture, conflict can never be completely resolved. And I think that they are doomed to constant disappointment. Never mind. There will be another self-help guru writing a book or come along on the scene next week or next month. The human mind, however, in Dr. A's humble opinion, will be in conflict as long as he or she is alive. Conflict between things like our wishes, our fears, moral prohibitions, and the demands of reality never, ever go away, Lou.
Yep. Never go away.
The ways of managing, the techniques that we can come up with managing conflict, and we have many of those, they can change with very hard and prolonged work. but that is a far more modest and realistic goal than the utopian one of transforming human nature through social engineering that the Marxists want to do.
Right.
This is implicit in the notion that mental conflict can be resolved. I don't think it can. Changing entire societies through social engineering, which is what Marxism have taught.
Fundamental transformation.
Say that again?
Fundamentals transformation.
Who said that?
I believe it was Barack Obama.
He told us what he was going to try to do at the very beginning.
Yep.
And the people don't believe it. They re-elected that knucklehead, knowing that he was an Islamo-communist, a traitor to traditional American values.
Yep. Hey, what do you say we listen to a Book of Beaker and rest your voice and come back and finish up?
Let's go for it. I like it.
Okay. Book of Beaker coming up.
A reading from the Book of Beaker, Exodus 2, Electric Boogaloo, the apocryphal text. Upon hearing the command that he, Moses, had been called upon to lead his people out of slavery and into the promised land, the son of Amram fell upon his knees and pleaded, "Who am I that should go to the Pharaoh and bring my people to the promised land? O my Creator, how shall I lead my people?" And the Lord said to his servant, "Moses, unto you and to all men I have provided 3 gifts, and with them you shall have the means not only to lead your people, but to create for yourselves a life of honor, strength, and character." And Moses cried, "Heavenly Father, what are these gifts, and how shall I use them?" And the Lord said, "The first of these things is your brain. With it you shall know your world, and make plans to best act within it. All that you see you shall process, and with that thou shalt plan. And with thy plan devise words that will help rally a people to your cause." Moses asked, "Heavenly Father, what can be more important than this, the seat of intellect?" And the Lord said, "Without balls, brains are for naught. Balls are the driving force of action. Without thine sack, the brain is merely a cloud without rain, watering not your fields, stillborn in the sky. Without these, your harvest of intellect will never be reaped." And then Moses said, "A brain to plan and balls to act? What more would I need to lead my people to the promised land, O Lord?" And the Lord God replied, "Moses, any true leader, from those as vast as nations to those as small as families, needs heart. I say this, even if a man needs only to lead himself, he must..."
Go. All right, we're back.
Okay, we're talking about courage, cowardice, and the wordsmiths, and how they want to, take their cowardly wordsmith intellectual abilities and become the leaders of society and change society. Social engineering, changing entire societies is extremely difficult, if not impossible. Contemporary psychotherapists, like other wordsmith intellectuals, endorse the Marxist ideal of human nature. We're going to talk about that in a couple of weeks once we get back from CPAC. Innocent children, Lou, are victimized by their parents, who are unwitting transmitters of capitalism's oppressive values to their offspring. I don't think that's true. Many fine and noble efforts have been made to awaken the Western world to the mortal threat posed by its moral foundations and its very existence by communism, Nazism, and Islamists of today. The openly declared intentions of these enemies of Western civilization, accompanied by their daily deeds of mayhem, would seem to be enough to awaken us testimony by former adherents to Islam, and I've listened to this man speak, Waleed Shobat. That should sound an alarm that would awaken the deepest sleeper. There's a woman out there that she used to be a Muslim. She's out there talking all the time. She's on Hannity all the time, and she says the same things that Waleed will teach us if everybody listens. But many in the Western world, in my humble opinion, remain in sort of a politically correct postmodern sleep, if you will. Why is this? When evidence is ignored, when brutal savagery is blamed on provocation by its victims, when a Jew and Christian hating death cult, the Islamists, which I think are basically they come straight from Satan, they're Satan's emissaries, when they are described as a religion of peace by our cowardly politicians, our cowardly wordsmith politicians. It's just a religion of peace. Nothing can be further from the truth, Lou. It's a bunch of crap. When media and when governing elites see little difference between the fireman and the fire, there must be, in Dr. Ray's humble opinion, Lou, there must be non-rational forces at work. Rational discussion, Lou, doesn't always work because fear is great. Terror, abject terror, has worked on so many. And amongst the wordsmith elite, cowardice is the usual response. Fear is, of course, a universal response to danger. Everybody gets afraid. How a person manages fear varies widely depending upon their human nature and their early development. George Patton, if you remember this, in his famous D-Day speech, said this: every man, and I'm going to say woman, I'm going to add that, is scared during the first battle. If he says he's not, he's a liar. Some men are cowards, but they fight the same as the brave men, or they get the hell slammed out of them watching men fight who are just as scared as they are. The real hero is the man who fights even though he is afraid. John Wayne said, courage is being scared to death, but saddling up that horse and riding into danger anyway. So for Patton, the real hero is the man who fights even though he is afraid. Fortunately, wordsmith intellectuals, in my humble opinion, are not the majority of Americans. If you took the New York Times or our Ivy League faculties and the Harry Reids and the Nancy Pelosi's as being representative of America, you would undoubtedly conclude that we are a nation of castrated people. Their screeching volubility notwithstanding, they are nonetheless and nevertheless the minority, wench. I find it comforting when the caterwauling of the left becomes deafening to think of them as Edmund Burke taught us, calls them nothing more than the insects of the hour. Did you hear that, folks? They're the insects of the hour. This is what Burke wrote. Because half a dozen grasshoppers under a fern make the field ring with their chink, whilst thousands of great cattle repose beneath the shadow of the British oak, chew the cud, and are silent. Pray do not imagine that those who make this noise are the only inhabitants of that field. That, of course, they are many in number, or that, after all, they are other than the little, shriveled, meager, hopping. Though loud and troublesome, they're nothing more than the insects of the hour. My dad is a submarine officer in the United States Navy, used to crush these insects of the hour. I used to see it all the time. Rarely does one find a Churchill or a Patton or a Margaret Thatcher, men and women of action who also are simultaneously wordsmith cowards. It is unlikely that one will appear soon again. We're looking for one right now. I'm not sure that Donald Trump is the answer. I think that Miss Stacy knows he's not the answer. So we will have to get through this war in defense of American principles, our founding fathers' constitutional values, and our Constitution, which I tell you every week, I love the United States of America. And I want the rest of you to love the United States of America as well. I teach my students, no matter where I teach, that I want you to love the United States of America. I mean the traditional founding fathers' principle, valued conception of the United States of America. Love it, people. I do. I fought for it. I still fight for it, as does Lou. Never think that the wordsmith intellectuals can shame us into silence. After all, as Patton remarked, Americans, this is true Americans, Lou, despise cowards. Americans play to win all the time. I wouldn't give a hoot in hell for a man who lost and laughed. That's why Americans have never lost nor will ever lose a war, because the very idea of losing is hateful to Americans. Do you believe that, Lou?
Yes. Yes, I believe that. And I believe that's part of the cult of personality with Trump.
You know, whenever I teach political science, whether it's at UCLA or Tulane or any of these wonderful universities, or here at WJNC and K98 Talk for our 3 listeners and 4 people in the romper room, I always talk about political science, and I postulate this humble premise to everybody. Lou, politics is simple. Politics is easy. In fact, the undergirding dynamic of politics hasn't changed since Plato and Aristotle were first conjuring up their political theories way back like 2,500 years ago in ancient Greece. Lou, politics is the authoritative allocation of value in society. Simply stated, politics is about who gets what, when, and how. Do you believe that? It hasn't changed? It's not complex?
Yeah, to some extent, I do.
Value and values are disseminated from the myriad of resources we possess as a nation and as a society banded together. Both tangible values and moral values. Certainly our national assets are indeed abundant, but people, listen to Dr. Ray on this, trust Dr. Ray on this one subject, our values can be needlessly squandered unto extinction. We can't have a welfare society, the democratic constitutional principles, and some limited redistribution of society's values and an open border. Can't happen. Barack Hussein Obama has opened the borders to his Islamic caliphate because he believes himself one day to be deemed the 13th Imam, or 12th Imam, I guess the 12th Imam, and the latest caliph of the worldwide caliphate. I truly believe that. This man has to be taken down. There is a limit to what we can do with our national treasures, people. Contemporary politics, in my humble opinion, has evolved into a complex leviathan because we the people have allowed politicians and we the people have allowed university professors to deceive us, to defraud us, and to lie to us and make us believe that politics is extremely complicated. And because it's extremely complex, that it requires their particular, how should I put this, brand of genius to comprehend and properly manage all of the intricate variables of politics so that our society will successfully continue into longevity. Nothing can be further from the truth, Lou. It's easy. It's simple. Who gets what when? It's the authoritative allocation of value in society. We don't need these cowardly wordsmiths to use their fancy words on us to mind rape us into believing that only they, as the elite, are the people that we have been waiting for, Lou. They are nowhere near that. There is, I think, the majority of the American people are stupid, just like Dr. Gruber said, because they have been dumbed down into a stupor by these elites. That's where they want you to stay. They want you to be enslaved to them, in bondage to them, thinking that only they can solve the problems, and you become their slave and do the work that they want you to do, which is vote for them every 2 years. Does that sound pretty abrasive, pretty aggressive, Lou?
Well, it sounds aggressive, but it doesn't sound it's not untrue. It's absolutely true.
Would the people in the romper room, would Stacy and JD agree with that?
I think that everybody that listens to us is going to agree with it.
But we've got to educate some people that listen to us and get appalled by Dr. A and Lou speaking the truth and enduring the consequences. We've got to get to them. We have to do like Apple. We've got to get that code that unlocks their brain, just like the FBI now wants Tim Cook and Apple to unlock that phone from that San Bernardino terrorist.
No, we're not going to get into that. Let's not get into that, because you and I will have a 10 to 15 minute debate on it.
I'm giving you a segue to a future show on national security. Do you not get that?
Yeah, no. Yeah, we'll do that one.
All right. Well, power and prestige, in my humble opinion, have indeed corrupted our politicians, our academics, and most of the people in the media. These cowardly wordsmiths who come from the Ivy League schools, who want words to be the reason or the solution to all the problems. They don't want to be on that playground. They don't want to be in capitalist society. They want to be the ones that are praised in society because they think they are worthy of that. There's no worse heresy, in my humble opinion, than the office sanctifies the holder of that office. But again, I think we the people must bear the bulk of the blame. The founding fathers, Lou, created America as a nation based on the Lockean concept of consent of the governed, not divine right, and upon limited government intrusion to maintain order and liberty in society. Government was to protect the nation against invasion, both foreign and domestic, and to create an atmosphere, an umbrella, if you will, of liberty underneath which we the people could safely pursue what we wanted to pursue to get our happiness. What do you think of that, Lou?
I think that's great, but I think you need to wrap it up.
You know what, people? Government should encourage people to pursue their goals in life according to their own individual desires and give us that wide umbrella of liberty as long as you don't harm other people to do that. Speak the truth and always endure the consequences. So let freedom ring. God help us, people.
Let freedom ring. God bless America. You can catch us next Sunday right here at noon on K98 Talk. We're also on Thursdays for whom bell tolls at 8 p.m. WNJC, Tuesday drive time 5 p.m. Catch us then. Thanks for being here and have a wonderful Sunday. We'll see you next week. Take care.
So long, everybody. So long.
So long.
If you want to work until you keel over, have less of everything in retirement, or give back more of your hard-earned money to the stock market again, then just ignore me. But if you'd like to protect the money you save, receive a steady, predictable retirement income, and enjoy financial security for as long as you live, then listen to this. You can download a free report that reveals the wealth-building secrets Wall Street and the banks don't want you to know. You'll learn how you can get guaranteed growth, safety, and real prosperity without risking your money in the Wall Street casino, and how to get the money you need when you need it, simply by asking for it. This is the best way to have a 100% secure retirement and know your money will last as long as you do. To learn more about this method and to get your free report, go to 29security.com. That's the number 29security.com. 29security.com. Go to 29security.com.